All right, everybody, what's up? Let me know in the chat. How do I sound? I have the mic in a different spot, and there's a funny story to that, but just let me know how it is first before we go too far. Absolutely interesting, wild, weird finish. So real quick, last night, if you watched the Indiana 500 on old John Ramos's channel, IDK player, I had to leave early because there's a false alarm. Had to go to the hospital, make sure that my wife wasn't going into labor. And I'm pretty sure I left the clamp that I'm supposed to put this mic in. And so I'm having to hold it the entire time instead of just having it lay here. And then I can't just go berserk and wild and all of that like I usually do. So if you see it going back and forth or you hear something, bear with me. I was in a hurry last night. I think it, I think I get a little grace on that one. As for today's race, the Window World 250 at North Wilkesboro, we are definitely going to be going over everything about it. But first, I want to look at the finishing results. And I believe I'm going to, I know I'm going to, but I believe they are still all unofficial. So I am going to, if I can spell unofficial today, going to put that in when we have the ticker rolling. But Chandler Smith, your winner, leads one lap today. And it was the most important lap, but definitely is not in a way that I think a lot of people might have earned that kind of win. Just in the right place, right time. I mean, it was one of the best ones today, but absolute wildness is what gets him up there as well. Like you can't deny that if that last lap between Heim and Riggs doesn't happen, he ends up probably getting a third place run in that. But you know what? Sometimes you got to be good, sometimes lucky, sometimes both. And I think Chandler Smith was both today. And looking at it here, Smith wins. Technically, the margin of victory be caution. NASCAR.com has it at 0.611 seconds. Then after 255 laps, 6 cautions for 42 laps, an hour, 46 minutes, 33 seconds, 7 lead changes on the day. He wins it over his teammate, a 1-2 finish for front row. And you know what? I'm going to leave a poll if I'm able to type it out. I'm realizing that it's going to be a lot more difficult having one hand to do all of this. So I'm going to poll you guys. Riggs finished there and what he did to try and get the win. Was that fair or foul? I like having these either or ones. I know that it's not like the ones that I usually have for the poll. But fair or foul, what did you think of what Lane Riggs did there? Was it just a racing move went wrong? Did he rough him up too much? I want to know what you guys think right here in the comments. While you're at it, out of 10, give me what you thought of this finish, or of this race, I should say, the total race of it. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Third place was Grant Enfinger, 68 laps led today for the Finger. You wouldn't think it just because of how good the 11 was, but there was a good amount of time that 9 was out front. It was very difficult to pass today, which is normal for North Wilkesboro. Ankrum in 4th, Majeski in 5th, then Hemrick, Ruggiero, 24 laps led to 7th. 8th goes Caden Honeycutt. Kyle Busch, a nondescript 9th place day. 10th goes to Sammy Smith. Then Jake Garcia in 11th. Tanner Gray, 12th. Luke Baldwin in 13th. Friesen in 14th. 15th, Raja Karuth. 16th, Connor Mosak. And 17th, last one on the lead lap after leading 162 of 255 laps, Corey Heim. It was Heim time until the exit of turn 2 all day. Again, best driver out there, I would say. Best truck easily. And Heim, I think, deserved that. It was iffy whether or not he was ahead of the 38 at the moment of caution when it came to that final yellow before the overtime. But overall, he was the best one pretty much out there. I questioned leaving him out on old tires, and same goes for Riggs and I believe Cruz and I think Ruggiero. Or 4 that stayed on old tires. I really didn't get that one just because everybody else you knew was going to pit, but it looked like it was going to work out until it didn't. 18th, a lap down, Matt Crafton. Emmerling, 19th. Jack Wood, 20th. 21st, Tony Breidinger. Brent Cruz, 22nd. Does not show where he ran. He was fast all day. Bright future ahead of him. Ben Rhodes, 23rd. Then 2 laps down in 24th for Perez and Mills in 25th. Dawson Sutton, 26th. 4 laps down in Connor Jones' return in 27th. 4 down for Spencer Boyd, 28th. Frankie Muniz is 7 off the pace and 13 laps down in 30th for Jason Alexander. Last 4 were out. Tyler Tomasi, Ryan Roulette, Derek White, and Norm Benning with the last place run. Had him right where he wanted him. Norm Benning finishing last today. We're going to put, again, the unofficial results. They're showing on Fox and NASCAR.com differently, but we'll show them down on the bottom. And I'm going to be honest. To me, this race was kind of just meh until the last 50 or so laps, which I kind of expected. It was very much one of those kind of old school short track races where everyone's just going to log laps for a while. They're going to, for the most part, just, try to survive. And a lot of times we'd see tire issues towards the end of runs, or we'd see somebody spin out. Again, that's just, to me, a normal short track race. I know some would probably want there to be more action, but honestly, I really don't think it's that bad. As for the finish, because that's the big thing that we're all going to want to talk about, because I'll be honest, the majority of the race, there was really not too many big things to talk about. The finish of this race, I thought what Lane did was borderline. I think what he intended to do was all right. How it finished and how he executed it was wrong, obviously. I think he intended to get a slider and make it stick. He also had, I think, 100-lap old tires, and even though the tires didn't fall off all that much, it was pretty clear there was a difference, especially on restarts. I think what he did leading to the white flag was picture perfect. I think, again, the intention going into turns 1 and 2, I don't think was malicious. I think the result and I think the inexperience showed majorly. I think he is a great driver. And I'm not even saying all this because he was my pick and I'm not wanting to let him off easy, but more just it was a poorly thought out move. It was a desperation move because it was pretty clear if Heim got it hooked up and got past him for almost clear into 3 and 4, he was going to win the race. Not a great move. But at the same time, I don't think that this is the, Truck Series Austin Dillon of 2025, where what he did at Richmond. This is not Phoenix bad. I don't think it's really any of those kind of things. Again, is it dirty? Again, I could say borderline because I think dirty also has to go off of intention. I really don't think it is. I think his interview was bad. I think his explanation was pretty bad. And I think that's something, Corey Heim, you heard him over the radio before this, when he got into him on a previous restart, talking about the lack of patience and inexperience with them. I think that is spot on, completely spot on. And Lane Riggs does this a lot. And it is the Jekyll and Hyde, I think, of being a really talented, good young driver that has the positioning to win. To a much, he's much lesser to a degree of like the way that Carson Hocevar was in a lot of ways, where Hocevar would go all out, balls to the wall, and would step over that line a lot. And I think Riggs steps over that line a lot. And I think that's a big part of it. Now, if there's no improvement moving forward on this, I think he should get called out a lot more, and it should be very much big on on drivers getting back at him. And I think, I'll be honest with you, I don't care what the intention was. Corey Heim has every right to get back at Lane Riggs now after that finish and after this race. I mean, that was not the first time in this race that he screwed over Corey Heim. Heim was, I would argue, racing as clean as anybody out there. And I think he got completely and utterly screwed on both of them. And Riggs, like I said, is having that kind of history with it. Those things aren't going to fly. It might fly in the truck series. It's not going to fly when or if he gets moved up to Xfinity in the next year or two. I would honestly say he should probably, Riggs should spend another year in trucks and before he moves up to Xfinity. Not that there would really be anything in Xfinity for him to move up to at this time that we know of. If he were to make a cup start and do this, he'd get his lunch taken for making that kind of dumb move, though. That's a whole nother story. I don't see, the blame on Corey Heim. I think that he's innocent in this. And I agree. He's outgrown the truck series. I will say it every week. I will pound the table. He should have won. Honestly, outside of Daytona, which is funny, Corey Heim should probably have won just about every single race this year in the truck series. I really, really think that's the case. And I agree. Yeah, I mean, it was a bad interview. Riggs had a terrible interview, and he is going to feel the brunt of that. People are, I mean, that's the thing in racing is people see everything, they hear everything. He's not going to probably get that much give for anyone. I know. Okay, yeah, we can nitpick of like, okay, well, maybe this one he shouldn't, whatever. The point is, Corey Heim has been damn good all year long and last year, and been just head and shoulders above everybody else, Troy Polamalu and everything. He's been really freaking, I don't get how he is stuck in trucks right now, other than maybe like he had a beef with Joe Gibbs' grandson. That's the only thing I can think of at this point. And listen, we talk all about this. I don't want to take away from the fact that Chandler Smith won this race. Chandler Smith and that team, I think, executed better than Heim's team did. I think Heim was a better driver. I think overall probably had a bit better truck, even though he was getting run down. A lot of that, too, was lap traffic. But Chandler Smith, I think, had the second best truck and was the closest, and I think actually much closer for comfort than Heim would have liked. I really think that, people are going to look at it maybe as a Mickey win. This, to me, is not a Mickey win in any way. I really don't think so. I think that, you can be a little lucky, yes, but you got to put yourself in position for those. This isn't like the rains came and he was out front after running 23rd all day. That's just, to me, I think that was just a really, really good run that had a fortunate finish to it for him. And yeah, one lap led on the box score is going to look like, oh man, he just got lucky in overtime. I don't know, maybe I had to leave the room to attend to something about a minute after the caution, so maybe Fox showed it, but it was pretty damn close to him getting out ahead at the moment of caution, and he had cleared Heim even when they were still racing. So you could argue he probably should have won either way, just because they had the better executed strategy. Again, I don't get why the 11 team didn't elect to have the fresher tires when I think they had the best truck, or at least an even truck with the 38. But that 38 team, man, they were on it. And you're seeing that experience too that Chandler Smith has had in the higher series in Xfinity, and how good he was in trucks now paying off when he comes back down for that reset year. It's amazing what can happen when a driver puts their ego aside and maybe goes down a series or two to show off again just how good they can be with good equipment. I'm totally not looking at the driver who could have been in the 19 outside of Daniel Hemrick. Another one, top 10 run for him today. Grant Enfinger, too. I want to give him that shout out. Third place finish today, led a bunch of laps, got shuffled up in a lot of the restart melees. But Enfinger and that team, again, I've said it multiple times on these streams on NWP, that Enfinger and that team have to be perfect to win a race. That Enfinger might be better with his racecraft and better driver and all of that, but that team has to be perfect. A third place run, getting through the melee, well-deserved. Looking through a lot of this race, though, it was, for the most part, I'm looking at my notes over to the side here. For the most part, very straightforward race. You had one caution in the first stage, with a bunch of trucks staying out and all that, which got Gio Ruggiero a stage win, much needed. I'll look on my end because I have the points going in. Ruggiero 25 points out of the cut line heading into this thing. Ben Rhodes, the one that was in, and then Friesen ahead. Stuart Friesen, 14th in this race. Ben Rhodes, 23rd. Gio Ruggiero, a 7th place finish with the stage win. And that was the only stage he finished top 10 in. 10 stage points there. Great day for him. And again, somebody who I think is going to get better as the year goes on. But he wins stage 1 over Heim, who finished second in both stages. Friesen, Garcia, and Smith, who was up there, Chandler Smith, Riggs, Ankrum, Hemrick, Enfinger, and Kyle Busch. I want to talk about Kyle Busch, who finished 10th in the first stage, 6th in the second one, finished 9th in the race. Had speeding penalties. I get that. And people are going to be like, well, he had speeding penalties. That's why he was back there. But that 07 truck, I think we've kind of noted at this point, it's off. It's not the best one out there when you have capable drivers in there, or Spire in general just is not on it as much. They have their moments, yes. But I will admit, I was genuinely shocked when at the start of this race, he actually started falling back. Because I know that the truck might not be the greatest, but it's Kyle Busch in a truck race. Like, that should be an indictment on the team when, like, the ceiling that you run on speed once everything is sort of shuffled out is 4th or 5th with Kyle Busch in a truck race. I know he finished ahead of Sammy Smith. He finished ahead of Raja. And I get that. But it's Kyle Busch. I expect that out of you. I expect Kyle Busch to run way better than a bunch of truck regulars or Xfinity guys going down or whatever it might be in any given week. So I'm a little surprised, even with how we kind of expected the 07 not to be great. I'm a little surprised how far off they kind of look today from where I expect, and I think we all expect Kyle Busch to be. Second stage was, again, after that restart stuff, it was started to heat up at the end. Heim looking to take the lead away from Enfinger, who pretty much led the entire stage, or almost the entire stage. But of course, Connor Jones strikes again, flat tire. Really, I don't think his fault. Kept his nose out of issues, which is all you really should ask out of Connor Jones. But Enfinger wins the stage over Heim, Smith, Chandler, that is. Ankrum, Riggs, Kyle Busch, Caruth, Cruz. Again, Brent Cruz looked really good until some of his issues. Rhodes and Sammy Smith. And the final stage, I'm looking at my notes and I really don't have all that many. The final stage was basically sort of a cat and mouse game, in my opinion. It was a cat and mouse game between Heim and Chandler Smith, with Smith being right on his bumper. Nothing really happening. You have that caution with 39 to go, where the 11, 34, 1, and 17 stay out on old tires. That's when Chandler Smith gets the pit with fresh ones. And the last 32 laps up until 5 to go, he is basically just charging up to the front, basically playing games back and forth, sort of backing off a little bit, and something that I really miss seeing as much in NASCAR, backing up and letting his tires cool off after he's kind of heated them up, battling, and then charging back up and giving it another shot. Again, I think that those two, the experience of both of them really showed at the end of this race, because I think they both ran really, really fast, obviously, but clean. They both, you could tell, were trying to take lines away, trying to save up their stuff for that final run and all of that. I thoroughly enjoyed that final stage. Again, I think the first 200 or so laps was take it or leave it. I'm not going to remember it tomorrow. I'm not going to remember it probably tonight when I watch the heat races or when I watch Indy 500 qualifying or any of that stuff. I'm not going to remember the majority of this truck race. But I will say the finish, I think, was very fun leading up to the overtime. Again, we went over the overtime in all of this. But overall, I think a decent enough race. I don't think we should expect barn burners out of really any series. Maybe if Xfinity showed up, we could, which Dale Jr. was really pushing for this past weekend. Said if that happened, he'd run it, he'd add to his schedule. But I don't think we should expect huge barn burners out of North Wilkesboro. It's, I don't think it's a track that's going to produce those the way that like a prime Martinsville or a Bristol would. But solid races, and I thought this was a solid race. I think that's what we should expect. I mean, this is a good question too. What's wrong with Ben Rhodes? I mean, he really hasn't run the greatest, even in his championship seasons, but definitely off compared to, I think, what a lot of people would want him to do. He came in +9 on the cut line over Friesen. I don't know what the exact points are, but I'm assuming he kept Ruggiero at bay. I could be wrong though. Just yeah, and I agree. ThorSport is off too. That team has definitely been off. Ty Majeski, I think, has been a bit off. He has a lot of bad luck too. I don't think we should discount that. And I get he had a 6th place run today. Garcia had an 11th place run. Baldwin actually 13th. So decent enough for some of those guys, but I think they're definitely a bit off. I think it's a lot of team. So like what's happened to Majeski? I think a lot of it's team. I don't think that he's falling off as a driver. Matt Crafton's been way off though for 5 years. I wouldn't put much into Matt Crafton being down there. But yeah, I mean, overall, I can enjoy that race. Looking at the poll, it's looking like just a slim majority, 56-44, says that was a fair move by Lane Riggs. You know what? I love it. Voice your opinion. I absolutely love it. Let's look at the super chats. Finish this baby out. Andrew Winslow says FRM are the lol cows of the race, but they won. They're 1-2. I mean, I get the deal with Riggs, but they're 1-2. Chris says fair move. They were near even going into 1. There was no intentional dive bomb. There was no tag in the rear quarter panel to spin him out. Slide job. That's like I said, I don't think the intention in any way was dirty. And I think the intention is the key component in something being dirty or being foul. I think, again, it's the inexperience, the tires not being there, all of that put together. And then Wizard King Nick says, in my opinion, both Corey and Chandler should be in Cup. I know most agree with me about Heim, but Smith could have been a champion last year if it wasn't for Custer. I do think that Chandler Smith, I think, soon needs to get a chance at Cup and a decent ride as well. Do I think he would set the world on fire? No. Do I think he'd be better than Riley Herbst in equal equipment? Hell yes. He easily should be up there over him. So I would say I agree on that. And I think it's just, there's less rides with 36 chartered ones compared to back in the day when there were 43. You have only 3 OEMs, so the pipeline gets clogged up because you have so many drivers, especially on the Toyota side, like back in the day. It's going to be difficult for a lot of these good drivers in the lower series to get on up. currently still in utero. We thought it was happening last night and it wasn't. So we're on baby watch basically through the week. We'll see. We'll see what's going on. That's why we have a asterisk next to Wednesday for NWP on Danny's channel. David Land to be on that one. Can't wait to talk to him about the Indy 500 and everything else having to do with that. If nothing else happens, I believe induction day is Tuesday into Wednesday, so we might move the show to Thursday. So just keep an eye on social media. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting time on and off the stream for me. Oh man. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming in. I appreciate you spending some of your afternoon with me after that truck race. We'll be live after the All-Star race tomorrow. Not going to be live after the Open or the heat races tonight or anything like that. Just the main race itself. We'll be live right after. Going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see you there. And y'all, I will hopefully see you tomorrow after that race. I'll let you know if not. All right. Till then, have a good one. Enjoy your Saturday, and I'll see you later. Bye.